Hey friend, welcome and welcome back to the channel. So glad you clicked on the video. Listen, today we are here to talk about The Shy. This is season 7, episode 1, and this one was called Black Friday. This was a really good episode. I knew they were going to bring it starting out season 7 because of what happened when we last saw the characters of The Shy. We lost two heavy hitters. We lost my boy Otis Perry, aka Duda, the gangster that we all love to hate, as well as we lost Rob. So shout out to Iman Shumpert and to the character that played Mr. Otis Perry. Both of those guys will not be joining us for season 7, but they were both taken out. I believe that it was Nook who took out Duda from last season. Alicia was getting ready to get it done, but Nook stole her thunder on that one. And I know that was just so unsatisfying for her because she really wanted to get Duda. But anyway, Nook took care of that. And then he also took care of Rob. So, we got some avenging of some deaths to do this season, and I am here for it. So let's just go and let's just get it started with Miss Alicia. So we see Miss Alicia, and she's there, and she's talking to Nook, and she got that thing pointed at him, and she's like, listen, I want to know who killed my son. Was it you? If it wasn't you, I need you to tell me who did it because somebody is going to pay for what they did to my son. So Nook is like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was actually Zay. He was the one who made the call. So Alicia listens to him. She leaves out. She gets back in the car where we see Rashad. And Rashad is like, hey, did you do it? Did you take care of it? And she was like, nah, I didn't take care of it. But what I need you to do is I need you to find Zay and I need you to bring him to me. Okay. I want to talk to Zay. But in the meantime, let's go because we got to go tell Tiffany because I do not want her finding out about Rob's death through social media or anywhere else. I want to be the one to tell her. So they go head over there to Tiff's house and they do let her know. Tiff, of course, is completely devastated. She falls in her arms and it's just really sad to see. But don't you worry, Tiff, because you know Miss Alicia, she is not gonna stop until she finds out who killed her baby and take care of business. Okay, so the next thing we see is Zay. He's in the car and he's got his girl in there and he's kind of talking trash about Nook, right? He's like talking about how Nook killed both Duda and Rob. And I'm like, man, why are you telling all of this stuff? Like, you're just talking way too much, right? But he goes on to tell her that the reason why Nook killed Rob was because he didn't want to pay him anymore. And I think the girlfriend is just like, oh, you think you're safe, And so Nook and Zay, turns out that they're cousins. So he's like, yeah, that's my cousin. That's my blood. I know he's not going to do anything to me. Okay. So then we see Nook. He's talking to his new crew. He's laying down the new rules because he is the new HNIC. Okay. He is in charge now and he's letting them know, look, I don't want no flashy stuff. We're not going to do things how we did it before when Duda was in charge. I want to just get this money and I want to go home. That's it. And most importantly, no disrespect. I don't want nobody disrespecting me. If not, I'm gonna have to deal with you. But like I said, I got a son now, and I'm not trying to deal with no unnecessary drama. I'm just trying to get this money and go home. After the meeting, Bakari comes up to him and he's like, so is it cool that I'm continuing to write my book? I just want to run this by you, and Nuck is like, yeah, man, go ahead and do it. I think that's pretty dope that you're doing that. And then we see old jealous Zay. He comes around and he's like, well, what about me? And he's like, what you mean, what about you? He's like, well, I don't want to work for you. I want to work with you, right? So he's trying to make this thing into some kind of partnership or something. But Nick is not hearing it. He's like, no, either you're going to work for me or nothing. All right. So I'm not sure what's going on with you, but you need to get it together. Nuck walks off, and then Bakari is like, yo, are you all right? He's like, yeah, man, Zay's my cousin. It's not like that. He's like, listen, man, I just want you to be safe. But for me, I'm already saying Zay is really going to be a big problem. I'm already not feeling this guy. All right, so now we see Vic. It's him and Imani. They're at home and they're listening to the news report about both Rob and Duda's unaliving. The news has now gotten wind of this news, and so they're now reporting it. So she's listening and she tells him, listen, I can't stay here anymore. I'm ready to get up out of Chicago. All this stuff here is feeling a little bit too close to home. It's hitting close. It's feeling a little bit too close for comfort, and I'm ready to leave, right? And so she wants him to come with her, and he's just like, nah, this is Chicago, this is my home, just chill out, everything's gonna be okay. And she's like, okay, but I need you to do something about it, right? Like, you're a public official. I need for you to try to see if you can get this resolved, because there's too much death happening around here. So he goes to the church and he sees the new pastor, the one that took over from Big Papa daddy, Pastor Ezekiel, and his right hand man Charles, right? And so he goes and he's talking to them about how they need to use their influence to keep the peace instead of, fanning the flames of the community. They need to be, trying to reach out to the community, do a little bit more, community outreach to kind of calm the community down, because with all these deaths that's going on, you can best believe that people are a little bit on edge, right? They don't really know what's going on with all this. So hopefully the pastor will do that, but we know that the pastor is crooked, so we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, we have Bakari. He's sitting with Professor Gardner. Shout out to Kadeem Hardison. So good to see him back this season. And so, Kadeem is pretty much just telling him, listen, you don't want to keep running from death, right? You want to just kind of settle down and just have something to live for. Don't you want to change your life? Why don't you, go to school here? You can stay in the dorms, because Bakari is telling him that he really doesn't have anywhere to stay. And so he's like, look, what about a scholarship? And so Bakari is like, look, I haven't even graduated high school. You talking about scholarship? I mean, what are we talking about here, right? So Professor Gardner, I believe, is going to make that happen. He knows that Alicia has a scholarship that she gives out every year. So he's going to go talk to, it turns out to be his wife, and ask his wife if she can go talk to Alicia about maybe possibly giving Bakari this scholarship, right? So we do know that Alicia is mourning the death of Rob. So we know her head is not there right now. This is probably the last thing on her mind. But Professor Gardner's wife does agree to go talk to Alicia. So let's see what happens. Shout out to Bakari. I think he is one of the most improved players on this show. I kind of go up for him. I've seen the transformation in him, and I want him to win. I want him to stay out of trouble and just do the right thing. So let's see what happens with Bakari. Okay, so now we're pretty much just seeing everybody kind of taking in and kind of processing both Duda and Rob's death, right? We got Emmett, Darnell, and Rashad. They're sitting at the table and they're having a toast up to Rob, right? Shout out to Rob. We see Tiff's mom, she's there, and she's thanking the ladies for just being there. Jada, Tracy, and Nina for being there for Tiff and just taking care of her. I don't think that Tiff and Tiff's mom had the greatest relationship, if I can remember from seasons past. I don't think it was, that great of a time with those two. So it was good that she's there, and it's good that she's actually thanking those ladies for their support, right? We see Tiff, she's still in the bed. She is completely grief stricken, and she's watching Cooley High. I'm like, girl, out of all the movies that you can be watching, you're watching It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. I mean, I don't know. I guess when you're sad, you want to watch sad stuff to just, I guess, kind of make you even sadder. I don't know. But anyway, Tiff's mom comes in and she's just like, look, why are you watching that? Turn that off. Listen, I know how you feel right now, but there are not very many people that can say that they had the kind of love that you and Rob shared, right? So you need to cherish that, because not everybody gets that kind of love. And although you're grieving and you can't see it right now, you will in time, but just try to cherish those memories that you and Rob had, right? So Tiffany, she's just not seeing it. She's just kind of blanked out. So she's talking to Keisha. Keisha comes to talk to her, and Keisha's like, hey, girl, whatever you need, I'm here. We got your back, okay? And so she does confide in Keisha, and she tells her that she doesn't know if she's coming or going. She's kind of scared, and she's like, look, if you guys could kind of get EJ for me, which is Emmett's son, kind of on a long term basis until I could get myself together, that would really, really help out, right? So Keisha does agree to it. She's like, yeah, girl, whatever you need, so she knows she has to go back and talk to Emmett. It shouldn't be a problem because that's Emmett's son, but you do know, we do remember from last season that Keisha is pregnant as well. So, they do have a lot going on with Keisha and baby Ronnie. And now with, EJ coming over there, it could be a lot. So we'll see how Emmett takes that news. Meanwhile, I also thought it was cool that we had Jada that's talking to Tracy, and not everybody is kind of, doing a shot for, Duda's death, because he was like the bad guy. But we do know that there was some love between him and Tracy, or there was some feelings, or there was something. So Jada's like, listen, I'm here for you as well. I know you're probably hurting. Not a lot of people are probably hurting over Duda's death, but I know you probably are, and I just want to let you know that I am there for you. So I thought that was cool, a cool scene that they had together. And speaking of Duda, back at the cigar lounge, we see Rosalind, Bianca, and Alicia, right? And so Rosalind is telling both of the ladies that Duda's funeral is going to be the next day. And it was funny because she asked Alicia, she's like, "Are you going to come?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm just going to be there to make sure the mother's dead." Right. And so I thought that was funny. And then she asked Rosalind if she was gonna, get some revenge for Duda's death. And she's like, listen, I'm not trying to get my manicure messed up. I don't know what Duda had going on in these streets, but I don't want no parts of it. So no, I'm not gonna be doing any kind of revenge or anything like that, on behalf of Duda. She's like, she can't get involved with that mess there. Next, we see Bianca, and Bianca is telling Alicia, hey, look, girl, maybe you need to take a vacation, just kind of get away from here for a little bit, just kind of unwind and get yourself back together. She's like, listen, I ain't going nowhere. I'll rest when my son's killer is taken care of. And you can best believe that that is what Miss Alicia's going to do. Okay, so back down to the church, we got Pastor Ezekiel and we got Charles. They're sitting there and they're talking, and they both agree that they do need to do more than just collecting the tithes, right? So Charles is asking Ezekiel about, does he know anything about Nook and about who's going to be collecting the money now that Duda is gone? And so he tells him that he really doesn't have a relationship with Nook. And so Charles is just like, well, if you need help with that, just let me know, and then, oh, by the way, how's everything going with you? Right? Is everything good? And then the pastor is just like, listen, if you're talking about, how me and my wife are doing, you need to mind the business that pays you. Okay. Because we all remember what happened last season. We had Jake. And Jake was feeling the pastor's wife, and the pastor's wife was feeling Jake, honey. So we haven't got there yet, but I do know that's probably going to be coming up pretty soon with old Jake. But anyway, we have the pastor. He goes and he meets with Nook, right? So he's talking about how he wants to be Nook's spiritual advisor. He'll do it for just like 2 racks a session, right? Nook's like 2 racks a session. But at the end of the day, Nook does agree. But he does tell him that he doesn't need his money washed to the church anymore. He said he wants his own people to like kind of handle his money, right? And he doesn't want anybody who he doesn't know handling his money. So that's that on that. No more money is going to be washed through the church, right? So the next thing that we see Bakari and Rashad, right? So Bakari and Rashad, they're eating down at Smokey's. And I'm just like, shout out to Smokey's, but where is Smokey? I mean, I remember when they just ran that poor man off and nobody has seen him since and just took over his restaurant. But anyway, Rashad is asking Bakari if he's okay. And then he's like, listen, I need you to do me a favor, right? And so Bakari's like, man, every time I turn around, you need a favor. He's like, listen, man, you owe me. And so Bakari's like, nah, man, I think I've paid you back. Like every time I turn around, you're coming at me asking for something. He's like, all right, all right. Now listen, the only thing I need you to do is tell me where Zay is. I need to find Zay. And so you could tell, you could see it in Bakari's face that he kind of does want to help out, but then at the same time, it's like, that's street code. You don't snitch, you don't do things like that. So we don't know if Bakari is going to do that or not, but we'll see what Bakari does, and hopefully he does the right thing. And we know that if he does deliver Zay to Rashad, that's a done deal on Zay. I mean, that's that on that. And I don't know if Bakari knows that or not, but yeah, that's gonna be that. Anyway, we got Nuck and we got Emmett. They both at the house, and Nuck is there because he's gonna take his son out for the day, right? And so Emmett is sitting there. He just is nervous because everyone is just like leaving this earth, honey, and he knows that Nook probably got something to do with it. And so Keisha comes downstairs with the little boy, And Nuck is just like a different person when he's around his son. He's loving and, hey, come on, let's get your coat on, and we gonna go. And so he actually asks Emmett to roll with him. Emmett's a little nervous, but Emmett does. He goes along with them, and they actually do have a good time. They're talking, and they're talking about being a good father, for their kids and everything. And so Nuck is kind of confiding in him, and he's just like, I really want to be, I want to be a good man for my son. I want my son to be somebody that he could be proud of. I don't want him to be ashamed of me, man. And so, Emmett's like, well, don't do stuff that that gets you, that makes him ashamed of you. Like, pretty much just do the right thing and you'll be okay. Like, that's your son. And so we'll see how that happens. I did love the fact that Emmett did go with him and that they had that conversation, and they're developing that bond, with the little boy, because like Keisha was saying, she was happy about it well because she knows that little Ronnie's gonna need both in his life. So I was happy to see that scene. Okay, so if y'all remember last season, Jake was trying to start this clothing line up, right? He was trying to do it in his house or whatever, and it was actually gaining some traction. I mean, he had customers coming in, and it was really popping off. And we also remember that Zay came in and dropped off some money, so it wasn't money that Jake asked for, but I think that Jake did use some of the money. And so Vic was just like, look, don't get involved in Zay. Don't get involved with that or whatever like that. So anyway, now we see Jake, and Jake has come back to pay Zay back for the money, with the money that he gave him, right? So he comes to see him, he pulls out, his money and gives it to him. And the next thing you know, Zay pulls a gun out on Jake. And so he's just like got the gun to him, and Jake is just like, so I'm supposed to be scared because you got a gun pointed at me. So anyway, he tells him to square up. So they start to fight, and Zay does get the best of Jake and leaves Jake down on the ground or whatever like that. So we do see Jake comes back. He's got on shades and everything. He's trying to hide his injuries from his brother Vic, because we all know how Vic gets down, right? And nobody don't want a problem with Vic. Anyway, Vic figures it out, and Jake goes on and lets him know what happened or whatever. So of course Vic had to roll up on Zay, pretty much did the same thing that he did to Jake, and told him, look, you mess with my brother again, it's gonna be over. That's a wrap. And he's like, man, don't even worry about it. He dead to me anyway, you know. And so that's that on that. Next, we see Professor Gardner's wife, Michelle. She goes to see Alicia, and she's asking Alicia, hey, look, I know that you got a lot on your plate right now, but about this scholarship for Bakari, if you wouldn't mind. And so Alicia's like, well, why should I do this? I mean, I couldn't save my own son. Now you're coming in here asking me to save somebody else's son, some other little boy, But anyway, she's like, just bring him by. I want to meet him, right? And so the next thing we see, we got Keisha, we got Jada, we got Tiffany's mom, and they're all at the house. Tiffany comes downstairs because they're really worried about her, and she just lays on her mom. And as she lays on her mom, they all start to pray. And this prayer was just so touching. I mean, my heart just went out for Tiff. But anyway, she's just really, really hurting. And it's so good to see that whole village that's around her and surrounding her with love and support. So shout out to the ladies. Okay, so as promised, Alicia does meet up with Bakari. She's asking him, why you for the scholarship? Why should I pick you? And Bakari just pretty much, I guess he thinks because the professor kind of pulls some strings for this meeting that he really didn't have to explain himself. And so Alicia's like, no, I want to hear your words. I want you to tell me. So Bakari goes on to say, well, I did kill somebody, but I killed that person because he killed somebody that he really loved, right? And then he says that if you give me the scholarship, I promise you, I do not want to disappoint you. So she says, well, listen, you do know that if I do give you this scholarship, that means that I do own you, right? And so that kind of hits a little strange for Bakari. You can see it written all over his face, because it's like he doesn't want to be owned by anybody. He just wants the scholarship. Like, why does everything always have to come with a price to pay? So I'm just like, wow, man, how come he just couldn't get the scholarship, with no strings attached? But it is the shy. So here we go. Anyway, he does meet back up with the professor, and he tells him that he got the scholarship. Bakari just seems like, he's happy about it, but he does remember what Alicia said, that, she pretty much owns him, right? So the next thing we see is Alicia, Rashad, and Bianca, and they do have Zay. So I'm wondering, is this part of something that Bakari had to do, give up Zay or what? I don't know. But the next thing you know, they got Zay. He's tied up in a chair, and she's like, who killed Rob? I think it was you. He's like, no, 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 no. Next thing you know, she unloads on Zay. And that's the end of Zay. Rashad is like, wait, he was gonna say something. I was like, I don't think he was. I think he was in the middle of his no, 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 no. And we're not talking about Destiny's Child either. So shout out to Zay. See you later, buddy. Anyway, Keisha's telling Emmett that she's happy that Nook and Emmett got to spend some time together, and she also tells him that she told Tiffany that they could keep EJ for a while. Emmett is kind of bugging for a minute. He's like, "What? Why? You're already pregnant. It's gonna be a lot, but whatever y'all want to do. But you was mad at me when I bought her a car, but now you just making decisions. Blah blah blah." So it's like, Emmett, be quiet. Just take your son. It's okay. I don't think this is gonna be a permanent thing, but that's that on that. Meanwhile, we got Bianca. Bianca is like, look, I done seen enough. I've done seen you take out this poor boy, and I'm out of here. She's like, well, where are you gonna go? She's like, I don't know, but I'm going out of here. So Alicia wishes her good luck, and that's the end of Bianca. She's also out of here. Then we see Vic. He's warning Rashad about Alicia. Like, hey man, I know you hanging out with Alicia and everything, but you need to be careful. I don't know about going all in with her, because what you don't want to do is go back to jail, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to save you. And he's like, what you mean? I don't need you to save me. So you could tell Rashad is kind of feeling himself a little bit. And I'm just like, Rashad, all right, now you're going to end up back behind bars. You better be careful. But that's pretty much that on Rashad. I think that he's probably something gonna happen to Rashad. That's just me just foreshadowing that. I hope nothing happens to him, because I love Jason Weaver's character, but Rashad just needs to just open up his eyes and see who Alicia really is. We understand that Alicia is grieving, but Alicia wasn't good before Rob passed away. So just be careful, Rashad. And then lastly, y'all, we see Nuck. He's with Bakari, and he's telling Bakari that Zay is gone, right? Bakari is looking shocked, and he's like, well, was it you? Did you do it? And he said, man, I don't kill family. He said, but you killed Rob, and you let Alicia think that it was Zay that did it. And Nuck said, yeah, but she don't know. I mean, the only person that knows the truth about that is you. So here we go, more on Bakari. And I'm just like, man, Bakari, I just hope that you make it out of this alive, because you're the only one that knows what really happened. Now we got Alicia who owns you. And I'm pretty sure that you were the one that gave up Zay to Rashad. So, Bakari, just please stay out of trouble. The next thing we see is Alicia, and she's alone. She's avenged Rob's death. She's alone now, and I feel like she can get that closure. And we see her in her closet. She falls apart and slides down the wall, and she's just weeping, and she's crying and grieving her son. So, prayers up to Miss Alicia. The last thing we see, and I knew it, but Tiffany is also upset. She's in the bathroom. She's taking a pregnancy test, and I believe we see two lines. That means that Tiffany is in anticipating. Is that what they say? She is having a baby, honey. So the legacy of Rob lives on. I'm sure that's going to be good news for everybody concerned. But yes, Rob is gone, but Tiff is pregnant. So we're going to see how this all plays out. Y'all, that was the end of season 7, episode 1, Black Friday. Like I said, it was a really, really good episode. You guys let me know what y'all thought of the episode down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I will be back with episode 2, because I believe that one just dropped yesterday, and I'm going to try to get that one up tomorrow. So like I said, let's talk about it. We are back. Thank you guys so much for listening to the video, for watching the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.